You're not supposed to tell him.
Yeah, I know.
That was the whole point.
Good morning. I'm Laura Anderson, the worship associate this morning. Unitarian Universalists are people of all ages, diverse backgrounds, and many beliefs who come together in spiritual community. We welcome fellow seekers of all races and orientations in working for justice for all and making compassion our ultimate value. We swear by no doctrine or creed, but are guided by principles drawn from world religions, humanist teachings, nature and science, philosophy, and personal practice. Our religion is about love and inclusion. It is good that we gather together this morning. We will now have the prelude.
When the nights are growing cold,
enlightenment of the Buddha. You may know that Buddhism often speaks of suffering and how we should free ourselves from burdens. In preparing for today's service, I spent many hours suffering, looking for the right words for my part of this celebration. And then I too was enlightened and realized that my approach was all wrong. After all, being part of this fellowship is cause for happiness, and we are celebrating an important occasion today. So my opening words aren't from a Unitarian Universalist minister or a renowned Buddhist, they are mine. Oh, dear friends, blessed ones, may you open your minds and be enlightened. My wish to you is that this service is not insufferable.
Namaste. Welcome, it is so great to have you with us today. I'm Dan Lambert, and I serve this congregation as the minister, and I am, in fact, sometimes insufferable. There is no doubt about that. But we are so glad to have you here. At this time, we have our chalice lighting. Lighting our chalice is one of the long-standing symbols of Unitarian Universalists, and it unites us wherever we are around the world at this time whenever we come together. The lighting of the chalice calls us together here in this space as we gather in sacred community. The flame of the chalice is a symbol of so many of our core values, including truth, knowledge, love, courage, sacrifice, passion, and the light of being together in community. Please join me in reciting the affirmation, which is printed in the order of service as we light the chalice, signifying our sacred gathering this morning. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our aspiration, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another. Thank you. We'd like to say an especially great welcome if you're a visitor with us today, whether this is your first time or maybe you're coming back after a long absence. Some of you are snowbirds returning. We're after Thanksgiving now, and so we're seeing an increase in all kinds of activity. Tess and I went to the Christmas tree lighting in Punta Gorda Friday night, which was super fun with about 3,000 of our closest friends. And it was a really nice time, so it's great to see all the activity picking up during this time of year. But if you're a visitor with us or you're coming back after a long absence, we'd love to say hello to you this morning. And so we invite you to stand and introduce yourself if you'd like. You can share your name, where you're from, and why you decided to come visit with us. Tom in the back has a microphone. This is not a requirement, of course, and so if you don't want to say hello, you certainly don't have to. But we would love to see who you are so that we can say hello. We have up here in front, we'll start.
Hi everyone, I'm Mona Azar-Johns, back again for the winter. Indiana is horrible and cold and snowy, and here is not. So I will come back every winter as long as I possibly can. And I love you all, and it's so great to be back.
Thanks, Mona. Great to see you. Welcome. Others who would like to say hello to us this morning. All right, fair enough. Well, for everybody, we would like to let you know that we have a social hour afterwards, and you're welcome to stay. In fact, we'd really love for you to hang out where there's coffee and drinks and snacks. It's just a chance for you to get to know us a little bit and us to get to know you. And it's something that we really enjoy each week, just hanging out together for a while after the service. So please plan to stay after the service and do that. And also for visitors, if you didn't get a chance to on your way in, please stop at the Welcome Center before you leave and let us know that you're here. We have this little paper to sign out so that we can send you junk mail for the rest of your life. Our first hymn this morning is number 1009 in the green or the teal hymnal, Meditation on Breathing. Number 1009, we invite you to rise in body or spirit as we sing.
This is done in parts, and if you've never sung parts before, there's an easy part for you that stays the same all the way you can sing with the first group all the way through. If you'd like to sing the other parts that are written, we'll have some people singing those. So feel free to join in with us.
Thank you. Please be seated. As we take time in the month of December to honor and acknowledge and celebrate the more than 24 holidays that happen from various religious and cultural traditions this time of year, we are going to take time to recognize as many as possible. So today we are concentrating on Bodhi Day, which in most traditions actually happens on December 8th. And so we'll learn more about that. And that song comes from a Buddhist meditation tradition. And I got lost in listening to everyone and forgot to sing along myself. So that was great. It was really good. Also, another thing that makes today special is that we're going to do new member recognition. So at this time, I'd like to invite Lynn Ritchie, our membership coordinator, to come up and lead us in that time.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
So this is always my day. It's a very particular joy to recognize and introduce the newest members of our congregation. While anyone can become a member at any time, this ceremony is our way of formally introducing and recognizing our new members. Okay, so we never really know what combination of happenstance, friendship, or good luck brings certain people together in this world for any purpose. But we believe that membership in this fellowship calls each of us here to celebrate the faith that has drawn us together and to regard each one a spiritual friend and a potential teacher, even of occasional hard lessons. So, well, the new members, please come forward as your name is called. Dick Schwartz, Joanne Collins, Ruth Volpe, Susan Galvin, Sandy Tellender, Mark Elson, Corey Dowdy, Karen Shea Rosen, Heather Littlefield, Carol Connell, Linda Connell, and Marianne Neater. our longtime friends. So this is a really special group that I'm welcoming today. We are grateful for each of you that you have found your way here and that you have decided to make a commitment to the Unitarian Universalist community. We hope that as a member of this congregation, you will allow yourselves to know and to be known, to minister to and be ministered onto, to love and be loved by other members and friends. Thank you.
It is a joy to formally and publicly welcome each of you as a member into our community. Becoming a member of this congregation is an important step, but it's only a first step. I encourage you to continue to grow in your spiritual life, whatever that means for you, and to explore and share your unique gifts and talents with us as you continue to grow. New members, will you journey with us together, sharing your joys and the responsibilities as a member of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Charlotte County? If you agree, please say, I will. Members of the congregation, will you reach out to these, our newest members, in friendship, including them in our activities and fellowship? Will you walk with them on their spiritual and personal journeys? Will you be open to their unique gifts and life perspectives? Will you extend a warm welcome to each of them, remembering that you were once new here yourself? If so, say I will.
I will.
New members, we all join our strengths, talents, and commitments with yours now. You are now officially part of our village, and we are a part of your journey. Keep in mind that ours is a shared ministry to help each other find meaning in life and to build a just and compassionate world, working to fulfill the vision and mission of this fellowship. Let's all give our new members a round of applause. If you haven't already, there's an official membership book that Lynn has that you can sign at any time today and sign over your firstborn to our finance If that's what you want, then that's what you can have. So new members, if you haven't yet signed the book, Lynn would like to invite you to come to the back where you can sign away. You better read the fine print. I'm not really sure. In a mood of prayer and meditation, we now read from the Book of Life. Each Sunday before the service begins, you may add your joys or sorrows, both large and small, to be read from the Book of Life during the service. The book you will find on the table, which is just inside the door as you come into the sanctuary. In our tradition, we revere the living of our lives as a sacred endeavor, believing that the joys and sorrows that we experience hallow the living of our days. And as we look in the book, we do have a few notes to share this morning. Nancy Weaver's grandbaby has arrived. I know. 5 pounds, 6.6 ounces, 18 inches long. His mother, Bonnie, has named him Amadio David Gruder. They are leaving the hospital today, though we don't know when Nancy will be leaving Denver. So she should be back eventually, and that note is from Sharon. So thank you, Sharon, for sharing that. Sadness over the loss of a close friend, Roger Bucher, a UU member in Attleboro, Massachusetts. Is that right?
Yeah. Attleboro.
And at the Murray UU. I know him as my teacher growing up there and as a friend. Many will miss him. He passed away the day before Thanksgiving, and that note is from Sharon Gunn. Sometimes I hear people talk about the relative age of this congregation and say we don't have any young people. Well, the fact is we do have young people. And one of our high schoolers, Ayla, has added a note to the book to share. How many of you love going to high school band performances? I love that. So Ayla's in band, and her band has a performance on Tuesday starting at 7 at the CPAC at Charlotte High School. She plays the tuba and the trombone, but not at the same time, I'm assuming. Is that right? How impressive would that be? Just holding those two things. I played tuba once upon a time, true story. She plays tuba and trombone and would love to see anybody come. That's a free concert, 7 o'clock Tuesday night at CPAC at the Charlotte High School. And here's one more random note that somebody wrote down. For some reason, it's in all capital letters with lots of exclamation points. I can't imagine why. It says, "Happy birthday to Samara Michelson." She's like a living exclamation point anyway. Here we go. At this time, we invite you to enter into a moment of silence to acknowledge your own joys and sorrows, the highs and the lows, the laughter and the tears of life. After a moment, whenever you hear the piano play, you're invited to come forward to the table that's here in front to my right and your left. Take a stone, meditate for a brief moment, and then drop it in the bowl that has water and stones in it if you'd like. You can drop that silently and then move back to your seats. This is a way that we invite you each week to share, to honor, or to release whatever is on your shoulder, whatever is on your mind, or something that you would like to share with the universe on your own time. And today, as we honor Bodhi Day, the singing bowls are an important part of Buddhist traditions and meditations in many cultures. So during our moment of silence, I will be playing this particular brass bowl that we have here, and then after 1 minute, Jim will begin to play the piano, and then you're welcome to come during that time. So let's have a moment of meditation right now. thankful for the breadth of our community, let us endeavor to support one another in all times and in all seasons. May this congregation ever be a harbor for the heart and a sanctuary for the soul.
It is the time in our service for the offering. As we approach the time for our offering, give what you will, for the fellowship that has meant so much to you, for the fellowship that has meant so much to those who came before you, and for the fellowship that will mean so much to the people you will never know. Give what you will, for you are a generous people. Those words are from the worship web written by Michael Hall. Today we're having a second helping, and Herb is going to announce that for us.
Good morning. As is custom for the Social Justice Committee, the month of December finds us helping out someone who needs our help. A family that has been identified for us by the Homeless Education Foster Care Liaison of the Charlotte County Public Schools. Our recipient this year is a mother with a child in third grade. She has just exited after spending more than a month in a domestic violence shelter. She has worked hard to overcome very much in this past year, and she could use the financial help, but also the support in knowing that she has done nothing wrong to find herself in this situation, nothing to be ashamed of, and actually she's looking forward to the future. And I'm looking forward to us helping her as we look forward to the future. Give as you can. Thank you.
mentioned earlier, during the month of December, we're going to discuss various winter holidays that we find in traditions and cultures all over the world. Those of us who grew up in America or in most Western civilizations recognize Christmas as an important time of year, but we often forget the fact that there are many other groups that observe winter holidays that are not Christmas, not Christmas alternatives, not Christmas light, but very, very different from Christmas. And so we want to take some time this month to discuss just a few of those. Bodhi Day is a holiday which falls on December 8th in many Buddhist traditions, but not all. Bodhi Day celebrates the day in which Siddhartha Gautama sat underneath a Bodhi tree some 2,500 years ago, and after 49 straight days of meditation, attained enlightenment and became the first Buddha. Traditions vary on exactly what happened during that time. Some say Siddhartha made a great vow to nirvana and to earth to find the root of suffering, or die trying. Siddhartha grew up as a prince. He was quite wealthy, he grew up in privilege. But as a young man, he noticed that there was great suffering in the world, suffering that he and his family knew very little about firsthand. He noticed people who were dying, who had nothing, who had no money, who had no means, who were struggling day to day. And it bothered him that as a person of privilege, that this existed and he didn't know anything about it. And so he left his royal trappings and decided to live among the common people and to learn about their suffering in their day-to-day life. After a period of time, he was still unsatisfied with that because it did not give him the enlightenment and the knowledge that he wanted. And that's when he dedicated his life to try to figure out the source of this suffering and how to solve the suffering. Many Buddhist traditions teach that on this day of enlightenment, during this time, that while he was meditating, he was also harassed and he was tempted by the god Mara, which literally means destroyer in Sanskrit, a demon of illusion. Other traditions simply state that he entered deeper and deeper states of meditation, confronting the nature of self. In the Pali Canon, there are several discourses said to be directly from the Buddha himself, related to this story. One of those passages has the Buddha describing in his own words his enlightenment in 3 different stages. First, he wrote, during the first watch of the night, the Buddha discovered all of his past lives in the cycle of rebirth, realizing that he had been born and reborn countless times before. During the second watch, the Buddha discovered the law of karma and the importance of living by the 8-fold path. During the third watch, the Buddha discovered the 4 noble truths, finally reaching nirvana. In the Buddha's own words, he wrote, "My heart, thus knowing, thus seeing, was released from the fermentation of sensuality, released from the fermentation of becoming, released from the fermentation of ignorance. With release there was knowledge. Released, I discern that birth is ended, the holy life is fulfilled, the task is done. There is nothing further for this world." Most Buddhist traditions agree that as the morning star rose in the sky early that morning, the third watch of night, Siddhartha finally found the answers he sought and became enlightened. He experienced nirvana, and having done so, Siddhartha officially became the first Buddha, or awakened one. The 4 truths written about in Buddhism are central to the core of the belief and can be explained in the following way. Humans cling to impermanent states of being and to material objects, and this is called dukkha, which means non-satisfying, appropriate for discussion during this time of giving way too many gifts and overdoing the presents. By trying to hold on to these things, humans end up getting caught in samsara, the cycle of life, dukkha, death and rebirth. Dukkha, death and rebirth. However, this can be stopped by following the 8-fold path. And if this path is followed, then eventually true nirvana is possible. Bodhi Day can be celebrated in a number of different ways. Often Buddhist homes will have ficus religiosa tree that they decorate with beads and multicolored lights, much in the same way that Christians decorate a Christmas tree. And other traditions have Christmas trees, which actually started as pagan celebrations, which we'll talk about next week when we talk about Yule and paganism. They'll also put on reflective ornaments that represent the three jewels: Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Some people will spend the day meditating on the life of Buddha. Other people will visit stupas or shrines. In some homes, Buddhas will serve special cookies shaped like Bodhi trees or like the heart-shaped leaves that grow on Bodhi trees. At this time, I'd like to invite Maureen Peters to come. She's recognized by many of us as one of our gurus of Buddhism in our community. She's going to explain to us a common chant and lead us in this chant. In your order of service, you'll find the words, if you're not familiar with it. And so I'll let Maureen have a few moments now to lead us in that.
If I speak here, can you hear me?
Yep.
This is called a mala. It is a set of beads, 108 beads. All kinds of malas exist, all kinds of gems, and all kinds of other changes with little flags and ribbons and things like that. So, but this is a plain, ordinary mala, but I've had it for at least 10 years. And it's been blessed by my guru, so it's very special to me. And when we say the mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, what we're doing, I believe, during that period of time, is we're focusing our attention on the present moment. Because if you do that, then the past and the future will not be in your consciousness, and you will feel, I feel a sense of openness by the time I finish saying a mala. The mala is 108 beads, so we will say this 108 times. But at the end, I will go very fast, and you don't have to keep up with me. So I'll finish it off on the upbeat, I guess you would say. Okay, or the downbeat. All right. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Om chant that is also sung at the end of a Buddhist program. It's often sung, and it's like a benediction. May we live long and be free from illness, enjoy freedom, great resources, and happiness. Next life may we meet in the pure realm. May we always practice Dharma and benefit beings. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Maureen.
Thank you.
During the last several years of my life, I've been trying to work on meditating more and more often. And there are many different ways to meditate, and certainly this is one of the impressions we have of the Buddhist tradition, that it's all about meditating, personal enlightenment. In our culture, though, for many of us, there's nothing more frightening than sitting in silence, especially for an extended period of time. Almost every moment of our life is filled with noise of some type, whether it's the radio or the television or conversation, or if you have a smartphone, you're playing video games, you're communicating with somebody, you're checking email, you're reading, you're doing whatever. It is very difficult for us to work on shutting out the outside world and trying to look for enlightenment within in some way. When I was teaching at the university in Arkansas, as part of a class I would teach every semester to seniors, we had a silent retreat. And it would be an experience where for 8 hours I would have students come with nothing but a sack lunch and their notebook. And I would often have students come to me and say, Dr. Lambert, I can't do this. I cannot possibly sit in silence for 8 hours. And I say, have you ever tried? Well, of course not. Why do you think you can't possibly be silent for an extended period of time? There's something about silence that's scary. And so just simply to start out, what I would have them do is, in their notebook, write out everything that's in their mind. Write down the sounds that they would hear, the various distractions, worries that they have, issues that might be troubling them, or even blessings in their life, positive things that might be distracting. Because we can be distracted by positive as well as negative issues that we're experiencing. And I would encourage you to try this practice as well. You don't have to be guided by someone, although there are many ways through YouTube or apps or books that you can read, books on tape, to learn about guided meditation as a way to get you started. But if you want to try this and experience a little bit of the beginning of the path of enlightenment, take some time to begin to be quiet. Sit down with a journal and write everything that you hear. Write down every noise, every distraction, every thought, positive or negative. Write down the names of the people that come to your mind. And eventually, you will be still. I found for most of my students, it took them about an hour to stop writing and to be able to appreciate the silence. For some of you, it will take longer. For some of you, that will happen more quickly. But this experience of meditation is one that is good for all of us, whether you do that in the Buddhist tradition or not. Buddha has set out an example for us of meditation and enlightenment, but it is not the only path to follow. So I would encourage you, as we honor and celebrate this Bodhi Day, to think about what lessons you can learn from Buddha, from the life of Buddha, and from the teachings of Buddha as we have them today. I'd like to read this in closing. It's from Louis Richmond, who was a Buddhist writer and teacher, and he sums up the hope for Bodhi Day for modern Americans living in the 21st century in these words. Living in the light of humility, kindness, and compassion is the deep lesson and timeless inspiration of Bodhi Day. When we celebrate Bodhi Day this year, I hope that we can celebrate it as a 21st century holiday, embracing the full weight of Buddhism's long history without being limited by it. enlightenment exists partly outside of the history and partly within it. The suffering of humanity and its causes persists today just as it did in Buddha's time. The life question of the Buddha remains: how do we overcome greed, anger, confusion, and create a truly kind and compassionate person in society? What is our authentic response to the world's pain as it exists today? To paraphrase an old teaching from the Zen tradition, every day can be Bodhi day. Reach enlightenment and discernment and personal knowledge. Amen and namaste. Our closing hymn today is number 1031, 1031, again in the green or teal hymnal, filled with loving kindness. Number 1031. We invite you to rise in body and or spirit as we sing together.
We have a spirited, lively community and many activities going on in our community life. I have a whole stack for us this morning. On your mark, get set. It's time to start thinking of the service auction. There's a need for volunteers, services, meals and food to be donated, businesses to be tapped for gift cards, etc. Bodhi, C-K-A-Z-R, for more information. There will also be more details coming in weekly newsletters, updates, and emails. This year's theme is Lady and the Tramp. Don't forget to sign up for Dine Around, Make New Friends. The sign-up sheets are in the hallway and the bulletin board outside of the chapel. What? You say you were caught up in doing Thanksgiving stuff, or you were too busy sitting at your computer ordering stuff online that you forgot? Well, I'm here to remind you, my friends, there is still time to order your favorite style UUFCC t-shirt. The time is now, and not for that much more. Our social justice, immigration, and racial justice committees want you, yes, you, to have one of these fine t-shirts. So, what to do? Look for Helen at the end of the service. Helen, I know I saw you. There you are. She's a nice person. She will help you guide in the purchase of a fine garment that will properly represent you, UUFCCers, on multiple occasions. Just $20 will get you a brand new, beautiful, yes, beautiful, t-shirt, your cut, your size, your material. We remind you again because we don't want you to be left out. We all know what it feels like, and it's not pretty. The t-shirts are pretty, but the feeling's not. So, anyway, look for Helen at the end of the service in the social hall and make a purchase today. There are a few more slots on the greeter's schedule that need to be filled, as well as next month's. Welcoming members and newcomers on Sunday mornings is a fun and great way to get to know each other. You could probably wear that t-shirt too. Sign-up sheets are on the bulletin board in the fellowship hall, or see Lynn for details. And where did Lynn go? Oh, Lynn just stepped out, but. There will not be an art reception this month. Today, we begin taking orders for tickets to our mutually beneficial fundraiser with the Charlotte County Jazz Society. You will have the option of purchasing tickets to any one of the 4 remaining concerts in this season, January, February, March, April. Tickets are only $15 each, and a portion of the ticket costs go to the fellowship treasury. Further information is available in the social hall. And Dennis Shaw has one more announcement for us. Dennis?
I've asked some friends to help me with this task. For quite a number of years, this congregation has been participating in CHAP's reverse Advent calendar. And basically what this is, these folks will be handing out these brown bags, and directions are in it. But CHAPS is Charlotte HIV and AIDS Task Pantry. And this pantry is unusual because it's not only food, but they give out toiletries, and that's on your sheet. We had the honor last year of our fellowship, our little fellowship, gave more bags to this agency than any other church in town. So we have something to live up to. So fill your bags with lots of personal items and bring them back in. I guess we can gather them in here, and then we'll move them. So thank you very much. Yes, you can bring them back next Sunday. You can bring them back on Christmas Eve, anytime between now and Christmas.
we're running out of instruction sheets, we can make a few more copies and we'll give them out during social hours. So please make sure and stick around if you need one. How many people didn't get instruction sheets? 1, 2, okay. That's, I think 87, I counted really quickly. We need about 87.
Our closing words are adapted from an original prayer to Buddha by the Venerable Jish Kelsang Gyatso of the Kadampa Buddhist tradition. O Blessed One Buddha, with folded hands we turn to you. We request from the depths of our hearts. Please give us the light of your wisdom to dispel the darkness of our minds and to heal our mental continuum. Please nourish us with your goodness that we in turn may nourish all beings with an unceasing banquet of delight. Namaste. Now we will extinguish the chalice, but not the light of hope, the fire of commitment, or the warmth of the community. May these ideals shine in our lives and warm our hearts until we are together again.
As we continue to learn about winter holidays, next week we will be celebrating Yule and many of the pagan traditions that we recognize in different forms during the holiday season. And because there are so many different things that we do during the holidays that come from pagan traditions, including some of the things we wear, how about if we dress up next week? Yeah, if you have a Santa hat or an ugly Christmas sweater or a beautiful dress or a wonderful jacket, wear whatever Christmassy thing you want next week, and we'll fit it into our pagan Yule celebration. So I think that sounds fun, doesn't it? Yeah, let's do that. Also next week, I understand that there's a tradition in this fellowship of putting ribbons on the tree, right? Does that sound familiar? We will do that next Sunday as well. And so we'll have the tree down on the floor so it'll be more easily accessible to everyone. So you can look forward to that next week as well. And then the following week, we're going to talk about Hanukkah. And I know we have several folks here who come from a Jewish tradition. And so if that was an important part of your childhood growing up and you have some thoughts or ideas that you'd like to contribute for that service, please email me and let me know. And I'd love to incorporate some of your ideas as well. We've had a lot going on today, haven't we? It's been a very full service, and we welcomed 12 new members into our community. And that's really wonderful. Now, as we depart this sacred space, please remember as you leave to be a blessing to everyone you meet. Let's enjoy our community benediction now by singing hymn 1057, Go Lift It Up, the words you will find in the order of service.
I actually